Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 6 Part 7 based on novel. So let's start. A black-colored blood cluster was suspended above Lin Dong's palm. A dragon roar and dog's bark that seemed to be vaguely filled with violence was emitted from within it. Furthermore, it also carried an ancient sensation within it. This was the ancient essence blood from the prehistoric demon dragon dog. Clearly, Lin Dong had basically sucked out all of the essence blood embedded within this demon dragon dog. A joy flashed across Lin Dong's eyes when he sensed the great strength of the prehistoric demon dragon dog's essence blood. Together with this demon dragon dog's essence blood, the ancient heavenly crocodile that he summoned would likely be exceptionally powerful. Lin Dong, aren't you a little too overbearing? At this moment, the 3 2UR Nirvana stage experts, with ugly expressions on their faces, finally could not endure it any longer and let out a cold cry. The three of them looked at the large cluster of ancient essence blood in Lin Dong's hand before glancing at the tiny bit on their hands. It was likely that their hearts felt extremely unjustified at this moment. At this moment, those people from around also threw their gazes over due to the unexpected change that occurred. The experts belonging to the three large empires locked their eyes onto Lin Dong, while Yuan power surged through their bodies. Little Flame, who also sensed the actions of these people, moved. He appeared in front of the prehistoric demon dragon dog's corpse, before he slammed the heavy rod in his hand down onto the ground. A fierce aura swept apart and caused the expressions of the experts from the three large high-ranked empires to change. The three of you, this demon dragon dog belongs to no one. Something like this relies on one's ability. Why? Do the three of you intend to forcefully snatch it? Lin Dong flipped his hand and kept the demon dragon dog's essence blood into his Qiankun bag. His gaze looked towards the 3 2UR Nirvana stage experts while he spoke with a faint smile. Lin Dong, I know that you are quite powerful. However, this demon dragon dog was killed by all of us together. Yet, you have taken more than half of the reward now. Aren't your actions simply too overboard? A skinny and tall 2UR Nirvana stage expert spoke with a somewhat gloomy expression. That's right, take that demon dragon dog's essence blood out and divide it into 4 portions. All 4 of us will take a portion. What do you say? This time around, the one who spoke was a yellow-clothed man. He glanced at Lin Dong indifferently. Although his words indicated that he was discussing, his tone appeared to be that of an order. Although the fact that Lin Dong had defeated Shakuan was sufficient to get these experts to treat him seriously, it did not mean that they were afraid of Lin Dong. They would withdraw a little of their haughtiness when dealing with Lin Dong, but they could not endure Lin Dong turning the tables around on them and acting as though they were nothing. Lin Dong glanced at these 2 people. Based on the conversations that he gleaned from the crowd, Lin Dong was already aware of the origin of these 3 groups of people. The first person was called Song Duan, and the Great Song Empire where he came from was also a high-ranked empire. Furthermore, it was definitely stronger compared to the Devil Cliff Empire. The yellow-clothed man behind him was called Mo Shao, from the Sand Empire. Both their own strength and that of the Sand Empire were at an equal level as the Great Song Empire. The black-clothed man, who was the only one who did not speak up against Lin Dong, was called Peng Fei. He was also no ordinary individual. Lin Dong calmly stared at these 3 people. After which, he laughed softly. This demon dragon dog's essence blood is quite useful towards me. Therefore, I'm afraid that I cannot do what Brother Mo Shao has suggested. Forget about the fact that their tone caused him to be repulsed. There was simply no reason why Lin Dong should have to hand over the items that landed into his lap. Even if the other party had 3 2UR Nirvana stage experts, Lin Dong was still not afraid. After all, he did not believe that the 3-person in front would really fight with him because of this demon dragon dog essence blood. After all, the current Lin Dong was no longer the same as the one who just entered the ancient treasure trove. The eyes of Mo Shao suddenly became a lot gloomier when he heard Lin Dong speaking in such a disrespectful manner. It seemed like he was no longer able to endure any longer and was about to attack. However, his heart unknowingly stopped him after he saw Lin Dong's completely fearless manner. His eyes flashed, but he actually did nothing. The lips of Song Duan and Peng Fei by the side were curled when they saw this situation. However, they did not continue to speak. After all, the three of them were not considered allies and their relationship was not considered jovial. Naturally, it was nonsense to talk about joining forces to deal with Lin Dong. The demon dragon essence blood might be rare, but there was not much use beside tempering their own bodies. Hence, it did not seem worthwhile to offend Lin Dong because of it. Although they felt some displeasure in their hearts at Lin Dong's action, that displeasure could only be suppressed by them in the face of Lin Dong's powerful strength. The most important thing is to obtain the inheritance of this 8th-level sect. The many experts around the hall involuntarily glanced at each other as they looked at the atmosphere around the corpse of the demon dragon dog suddenly relaxing. Clearly, they did not expect that these three people, who possessed quite a great reputation in this northwestern region, would actually choose to endure in the face of Lin Dong's overbearing actions. It seems like the rumors regarding Lin Dong during this period of time was indeed true. Let's go. Song Duan and the two others remained at this place for a moment before they finally clenched their teeth together. Their eyes stared viciously at Lin Dong for a moment before their bodies flashed. Following which, they directly rushed towards that enormous stone hall. Everyone finally recovered their senses after they saw their actions. Some fiery heat rose within their eyes as they looked at this stone hall. After which, they also hurriedly charged over. Lin Dong stood on the corpse of the demon dragon dog. He saw this scene and grinned faintly. This was the benefit brought by strength. If his current strength was still at the same level when he had entered the ancient treasure trove, it was likely that Song Duan and the two others would not even give him the right to speak, much less be forced to take a step back in the face of this competition for this demon dragon dog's essence blood. Although part of the reason for this was because they did not think that the demon dragon dog's essence blood was worthwhile for them to expend such a great effort, one could also interpret it as they were afraid of Lin Dong. Let's go, we shall enter and see just what kind of impressive inheritance this 8th-level sect possess. Lin Dong was quite satisfied after having obtained the essence blood from this demon dragon dog. He immediately beckoned his hand towards little Martin. After which, his body moved and swiftly rushed forward. Within a couple of flashes, he had charged into the interior of the enormous hall that had already been broken into by everyone. The interior of the hall was extremely wide. All the corridors crossed each other, causing it to appear just like a maze. The ancient feeling that was accumulated over the years surged over from all directions. At this moment, the originally quiet stone hall was filled with a liveliness as quite a number of people barged into it. Lin Dong and Little Flame also followed a corridor into it. However, they were surprised to find that they could not even find a single nirvana pill along the way, much less any other treasure. The entire large hall was empty. It was as though it had been completely robbed of everything. Could this place have already been raided before we came? Lin Dong once again passed by a stone room. When he saw that empty sight, he finally could not resist as he commented. It will not be so clean even if it has been raided. Little Martin flashed and appeared. It was also surprised at the emptiness of this ancient remains. After which, it voiced its thoughts, could it be that the 8th-level sect did not leave anything behind? Let's head to the main hall and take a look. Lin Dong was similarly unable to provide any answer. This situation was clearly something that he had met for the first time. All he could do was to shake his head helplessly. After which, he upped his speed, followed the corridor and headed to the main hall. Due to the fact that there was nothing desirable along the way, Lin Dong only took approximately 10 minutes before he arrived at the main hall of this 8th-level sect together with Little Flame. Following which, he realized that there were already some people at this place by the time he had arrived. Song Duan and the others were also here. However, their current expressions were quite ugly and there was a faint fury on their faces. Lin Dong's eyes swept around. He looked at the uncertain expressions and lack of understanding on everyone's faces and immediately understood the situation. It seemed like they had not obtained any rewards after entering the 8th-level sect's remains. Damn it, why is this place so empty? Forget about treasure, there isn't even a strand of hair. Could it be that someone has arrived before us? Is that why there is no energy barrier guarding around this remains? Even if someone has arrived before us, this place will not be so clean. Moreover, this place does not look as though someone has broken into in the past. Private conversations sounded within the main hall. Doubt and loss filled the eyes of these people. Lin Dong frowned slightly. From the ancient scent caused by the prolonged period of sealing, it seemed like it had been quite some time since this place was opened. Yet, why was it that all the treasures had disappeared? After a moment of deep thought, Lin Dong suddenly raised his head and looked at this main hall. The main hall was also empty and it did not seem like a unique place. The only thing special about it seemed to be a stone block that stood within the large hall. A stone block? Lin Dong was stunned for a moment. He immediately increased the speed of his footsteps and arrived in front of the stone block. This stone block was neither tall nor large. It quietly stood at the spot, but it possessed a feeling of appearing to be unshakable. There were many traces on the stone block. Lin Dong's eyes looked over and saw three unique things. They were a palm imprint, a fist imprint and a dark black finger hole. Lin Dong's eyes stared intently at the imprints on this stone block. He could vaguely sense a strange fluctuation being emitted from it. There were quite a number of people within the main hall. Hence, Lin Dong's action immediately attracted some attention. Song Duan and the two others were the first to hurry over. Their eyes similarly focused on the three imprints on the stone block immediately. A glint flashed over their eyes. What is this? Mo Shaw was the first to be unable to control himself. His eyes flashed and he was the first to extend his hand and touched a palm imprint on the stone block. Lin Dong's eyes narrowed when he saw this. However, he surprisingly did not say anything. Mo Shaw's hand finally made contact with the palm imprint on the stone block in front of many gazes. In the next instant, everyone saw Mo Shaw's face instantly turning blood red. A loud boom was emitted and his body flew backwards. Finally, it smashed heavily onto the wall of the hall. A mouthful of fresh blood was spat out. There was a shocked expression that filled his eyes when he raised his head. Hiss! Quite a number of people in the main hall inhaled a breath of air. The people who had originally approached the stone block emitted a shushing sound as they withdrew some distance. What a powerful and fierce fist aura! Lin Dong's eyes also gradually became solemn. They stared intently at the ancient imprint on the stone block. When Mo Shaw had made contact with it earlier, Lin Dong could clearly sense a wild and violent fist aura that caused the skin on his head to turn numb being emitted from within that palm imprint. Only at this moment did Lin Dong finally understood why this remains was so empty. The true inheritance was at this place. Within the hall, numerous amazed gazes were currently glued to the ancient stone block. More accurately, the gazes had locked onto the three imprints on the stone block. What a forceful fist aura! Intense shock surfaced on Song Duan's and Peng Fei's faces. They had similarly sensed the terrifying fist aura that had emerged from the stone block when Mu Shao was sent flying. Lin Dong's gaze flickered. He had already understood that the 8th-level sect's inheritance should be located on this stone block. However, that fierce and powerful fist aura was quite frightening. At this moment, the Mu Shao who had been sent flying once again dashed over. His face was a little ashen as he stared intently at the stone block, appearing as if he was on the brink of lashing out to blast it to pieces. However, he quickly calmed himself. This stone block was no ordinary object. If he continued to act thoughtlessly, he would likely embarrass himself even further. Moreover, he now clearly understood the situation. This stone block was likely the most precious object within the ruins of the 8th-level sect. This realization made him feel a surge of joy. No matter what happened, it seems that he would no longer have to return empty-handed. Numerous gazes within the large hall were saturated with both surprise and joy as they looked at the stone block. However, there was no longer anyone who would act carelessly. Firstly, they had learned from Mu Shao's mistake. Second, with so many people watching, obtaining the inheritance of this place might not be a good thing. Under the allure of the true sect inheritance, the boldness in the hearts of those people here would likely be magnified by countless times. Even someone like Song Duan and the others would not be able to deter the rest with force. Everyone. The silence in the hall persisted for a short period before Song Duan finally opened his mouth and spoke. His gaze swept across the area, pausing on Lin Dong for a moment as he said, "We have come to here for the 8th-level sect's inheritance. From what I can see, the inheritance should be inside this ancient stone block. We are not unreasonable people. Since all of us have come here, each of us will naturally have a chance at this inheritance. Thus, let each of us shall rely on our own ability. As for who will eventually obtain the inheritance, shall we let it depend on one's luck and ability?" Song Duan's words were indeed pleasing to the ears. However, some of the sharper individuals managed to infer some clues from his words. Given how Mu Shao was sent flying earlier, this stone block clearly possessed an extremely ferocious fist aura. That fist aura was something that even someone who had stepped into the 2-yuan nirvana stage would have difficulty dealing with, much less the rest of them. Song Duan's words might seem fair on the surface, but it was obvious that he and the other strong individuals would have an advantage. Even though this was the case, the rest could do nothing about it. This was a world where strength was king. They were not naive enough to think that Song Duan would give them absolute fairness. It was already more than fortunate that they were given the chance to try their luck at the inheritance. Mu Shao and Peng Fei were clearly extremely agreeable to this suggestion and immediately nodded in agreement. Lin Dong merely glanced at them, his face like the surface of a still old well. However, he did not raise any objections. Song Duan smiled a little when he observed that no one raised any objections. Unexpectedly, he took a step back and said, "Whoever is interested, please go ahead." From the looks of it, it was apparent that he did not intend to be the first one to try. It was likely that he was worried that he would reenact Mu Shao's miserable scene. However, if Song Duan was worried, the others would naturally be even more worried. Hence, the main hall lapsed into a strange silence for a time. Everyone looked at each other, but no one dared to step forward. Yet, it was obvious that this situation would not continue on forever. A greedy expression involuntarily flickered in the eyes of some people as they looked at the ancient-looking stone block. After some time, a 1-yuan nirvana stage expert could no longer endure and finally stepped forward. Under the crowd's watch, he arrived in front of the stone block. Having seen Mu Shao's earlier attempt, this 1-yuan nirvana stage expert was obviously extremely careful. All the yuan power inside his body surged out and completely wrapped around his body. After which, he very cautiously extended his hand towards the stone block. The main hall was completely silent. Everyone's gaze was glued onto the 1-yuan nirvana stage expert's extended hand. Under their attention, he grew rather nervous, perspiration appearing on his forehead. Under the crowd's gaze, his hand finally made contact with the stone block. However, he did not touch the fist imprint this time around. Instead, he reached towards the pitch-black finger hole. No shocking change occurred when he made contact, but quickly after, Lin Dong's pupils suddenly shrunk. He suddenly kicked the 1-yuan nirvana stage expert and sent him flying. "You?" The fellow who had been kicked aside by Lin Dong was startled. Just as the former was about to let out a furious cry, he saw a flash shoot out from the hole. With a swoosh sound, it left behind a bottomless thumb-sized black hole at the spot he was standing at earlier. Remnants of a frighteningly sharp aura lingered around the tiny black hole. Evidently, if that fellow had been struck, he would definitely lose his life. The 1-yuan nirvana stage expert immediately swallowed. His eyes turned towards Lin Dong in thanks, but the latter ignored him. Those eyes of Lin Dong were solemnly staring at the stone block. This object was indeed not simple at all. By the side, the Song Duan trio also looked at the tiny dark hole on the ground with grim expressions. It was clear that they also felt this was going to be extremely troublesome. With the scene of that fellow narrowly escaping death, everyone who had wanted to give it a try earlier finally squashed their desire. If it were not for Lin Dong reacting fast enough and lending a hand out of goodwill, that the fellow would have died on the spot. They could not be certain if Lin Dong would show kindness and help the next time. Hence, the main hall once again lapsed into silence. Even the Song Duan trio did not dare to act carelessly. Lin Dong frowned a little as he stared at the stone block. A moment later, he slowly took a step forward. As an existence that was the focus of everyone's attention, this action of Lin Dong's immediately caused everyone's eyes to gather on him. Even the Song Duan trio became fully concentrated. Lin Dong's footsteps came to a halt in front of the stone block. With a thought, a surge of yuan power swiftly started flowing in his channels. I want to see just how terrifying the fist aura within this stone block is. Lin Dong's eyes flickered as he softly mumbled. In the end, he finally extended his hand and touched the fist imprint. Slap. Under the numerous unblinking gazes, Lin Dong's hand made contact with the fist imprint. In an instant, his expression suddenly turned serious. He could sense a powerful and fierce fist aura suddenly sweep out from within the stone block like a crouching dragon. The fist aura was as majestic as lightning, containing an ancient and forceful feeling. It was as though it was the most powerful punch unleashed by nature and was extremely wild. Boom! The fist aura wildly surged up Lin Dong's arm, causing his sleeve to burst apart. Lin Dong's eyes were solemn. Yuan power whistled out from within his body and crashed into the wave of fist aura, attempting to force it out of his body. However, the instant the two forces touched, the yuan power within Lin Dong's body instantly crumbled. It was as if the fist aura was an existence above his yuan power, causing him to have no means of blocking it. Lin Dong's expression changed when he saw signs of his yuan power crumbling. He hurriedly maneuvered his mental energy, however, even with the help of his mental energy, he was still unable to withstand the battering attack of the majestic fist aura. Lin Dong used the fusion power of the ancient universe formation. This fist aura is too formidable and berserk. An ordinary force will not be able to withstand it. Little Martin's cry suddenly rang out while the fist aura easily broke through Lin Dong's many layers of defense. Lin Dong concentrated, without wasting any time. Yuan power, mental energy and the devouring power swiftly entered the ancient universe formation above his dantian. A grayish-black fusion force burst out and collided with the fist aura. Boom! The two forces ruthlessly smashed into each other as Lin Dong's body trembled violently. However, the fusion force did not crumble as expected. The grayish-black fusion force adhered to the fist aura like maggots in one's bones, cutting its momentum in the process. Moreover, the devouring power within also erupted, swallowing the incomparably majestic fist aura little by little. Everyone in the main hall was looking at the now deathly pale Lin Dong in alarm while a gloating expression surged in the eyes of the Songduan trio. However, before the smile on their faces could spread, they suddenly sensed the wild and violent fist aura being emitted by Lin Dong's body swiftly weaken. The trio's expressions immediately changed when they saw this scene. From the looks of it, Lin Dong had actually endured the majestic fist aura that even they were terrified of. Did this not mean that he would be able to obtain the sect inheritance? Eyes flickering, the Songduan trio suddenly stepped forward a split second later. Their hands also reached out towards the stone block. The moment that majestic thunder-like fist aura was swallowed by Lin Dong, his mind suddenly entered into a trance-like state. Faintly, an ancient picture seemed to flash past his mind. That picture was still that of an ancient large hall and one was still barely able to recognize it as the main hall where Lin Dong's group was at. There was also a stone block quietly standing at the center of the large hall. Meanwhile, there was a thin and elderly figure in front of the stone block. He was less than half as tall as the stone block, but the faint ripple emitted from within his body was so strong that it could shatter this world. It was as though a slight movement of his body could cause the land to shake. Only the back of the old figure could be seen in the picture. After which, Lin Dong saw the old man raising his hand and casually swung his palm. Bang! This palm might appear dull and ordinary, but when the wind from the palm was brandished, space itself became distorted. A formless powerful fist aura was just like a creeping prehistoric enormous beast that suddenly pounced over with killing intent, causing one's mind to quiver. Boom! The palm landed on the stone block. However, the frightening fist aura that could cause this domain to explode did not do any damage to the stone block. All it left behind was a palm imprint that was only half a finger deep on its surface. This was naturally not because the material of the stone block was too hard. Instead, it was because this mysterious old man had already reached a level where he could retract and unleash his strength as he pleased. Boom! The old man once again unleashed a punch and pressed a finger forward after the palm landed. He once again left behind a fist aura and a finger mark. Lin Dong seemed to have vaguely saw traces of a martial art as he did so. It was likely that this palm, fist and finger should be quite a powerful martial arts. However, Lin Dong also vaguely sensed that it was not so simple. The 8th-level true ideal is on the stone block. Someone with affinity will be able to obtain it. While Lin Dong was deep in thought, that old figure also gradually faded. An indifferent voice that appeared to have been transmitted from the ancient times sounded within Lin Dong's heart. One could see the picture strangely become real after the voice sounded, while Lin Dong's body directly appeared in front of the stone block within that picture. Following Lin Dong's appearance, the palm imprint, fist imprint and finger imprint on the stone block actually transformed into 3 rays of light that surged out. After which, it transformed into 3 light clusters that were suspended above the stone block. Is this the inheritance of the 8th-level sect? Lin Dong's heart was filled with joy when he saw this scene. His eyes swept over it before he extended his hand towards the cluster of light that contained the palm imprint. Lin Dong's expression suddenly changed the instant when he was about to extend his hand. His gaze swept over the place and saw that 3 figures had appeared behind him. They were clearly Song Duan's group. The 3 figures had just appeared when their eyes greedily looked at the 3 clusters of light above the stone block. Even though no one said anything, all of them knew what was going on. Hence, they were merely hesitated for a moment before they rushed out. The speed of Song Duan and Peng Fei were the fastest. However, they were clearly still a little afraid of Lin Dong. Therefore, they did not dare to snatch the palm imprint light cluster that Lin Dong was about to grab. Instead, they rushed towards the fist imprint and the finger imprint. With their extremely fast speed, their hands grabbed the light clusters in a flash. Immediately, their faces revealed a wild joy. It was likely that they had sensed just how great of a treasure the thing within the light cluster was. Lin Dong became extremely furious when he saw that these 3 fellows had actually appeared and spoiled the situation. He had swallowed quite a great amount of the majestic fist aura on the stone block only to allow these 3 fellows to take advantage of the situation and come to this place. This scene undoubtedly caused Lin Dong to be angry. He was the only one who had taken advantage of others from behind. It was unexpected that he had actually been the one opening the path for these 3 fellows this time around. Moreover, looking at the intention of these fellows, it seemed that they were actually intending to snatch away the things that ought to belong to him. A fury surged within Lin Dong's heart. Soon after, he saw another scene that caused him to involuntarily laugh out loud in his extreme anger. That eyes of Mo Shao, who had argued with him earlier, flicked after he saw that the fist imprint and finger imprint had been obtained by Song Mo and Peng Fei. He actually directly extended his hand towards the fist imprint light cluster in front of Lin Dong. You are seeking death. A cold glint flashed in Lin Dong's eyes. However, just as he was preparing to attack, little Martin's voice suddenly sounded, "Wait!" This voice had appeared extremely suddenly, causing Lin Dong to be startled. However, the speed in his hand was also greatly reduced as a result. That Mo Shao took the opportunity to pass by and grab the palm imprint light cluster with a face filled with wild joy. His gaze contained some ridicule as it drifted towards Lin Dong. Song Duan and the 2 others did not plan to remain for long after obtaining the item. This space seemed to be emitting an exclusion strength that pushed them out of it. Bastard! Lin Dong's expression was gloomy. Immediately, he wanted to give chase and head out to settle the scores. However, little Martin swayed and drifted out. He lazily said, "What are you so anxious about? What have you discovered?" Lin Dong gritted his teeth in the face of this manner of little Martin. However, he immediately calmed down. Although little Martin loved to joke at times, it would clearly not do something vexatious at such a time. Since this was not the case, it was likely that this cunning old fellow had discovered something again. How uninteresting. Little Martin, who originally wanted to see Lin Dong jumping on his feet, was startled when it saw this. Clearly, it had not expected Lin Dong to react to the situation so quickly. Immediately, he curled his mouth and spoke. If you really go and snatch those 3 things, it is likely that you will allow the inheritance of the 8th-level sect to pass by you. Little Martin looked at the stone block. At this moment, the palm imprint, fist imprint and the finger hole had disappeared. However, little Martin's eyes were increasingly focused. Extend your hand. Lin Dong hesitated for a moment after hearing little Martin's faint voice. He extended his hand and gently touched the stone block. Boom! Lin Dong's expression instantly changed when he made contact with the stone block. A little paleness vaguely appeared on his face. At this moment, he could sense a wave of extremely fierce and majestic fist aura sweeping out from within the interior of the stone block in all directions. That fist aura was the same as the one which was present in the body of the old man in the picture earlier. The fist aura was shapeless and colorless. However, one was able to sense its actual existence. It was as vast and mighty as an ocean, and Lin Dong was just like a small boat that could be overturned anytime within it. Lin Dong appeared extremely tiny in the face of the fist aura. Even Lin Dong's legs felt weak in the face of the majestic steel-like pressure. Crack! The stone block suddenly cracked, forming numerous crack lines. After which, they expanded and the stone block finally completely cracked apart. Following the bursting apart of the stone block, an invisible cluster that seemed to be like the fiercest and most powerful thing in this world in Lin Dong's eyes, slowly surfaced from within the stone block. After which, it was suspended in front of Lin Dong. This is fist aura. Lin Dong's eyes shrunk as he stared at the strange thing in front of it. He could sense the frightening strength contained within it. 8-level fist aura. This is the real 8-level true ideal. Those earlier are merely low-quality objections. If you take them, you would instead be directly expelled from this place and you can forget about obtaining the 8-level fist aura. Little Martin spoke faintly. Lin Dong inhaled a breath of cold air. From the picture earlier, he was aware that this 8-level fist aura should be left behind by that extremely frightening old man. Lin Dong was unaware of just what level that old man had reached. He was actually able to form such a fist aura. This invisible ethereal thing was not something that someone of Lin Dong level could come into contact with. Lin Dong involuntarily felt an impulse to form some cold perspiration when he thought of how precious the 8-level fist aura was. It was fortunate that he did not obtain that light cluster earlier. Otherwise, he would really lose something precious and obtain something that was far less valuable. No wonder that old man mentioned someone with an affinity. It seemed that those words were true. Those 3 clusters of light earlier were clearly just something to trick people. Lin Dong parted his mouth and quietly calmed his heart. Only then did he extend his hand and grabbed at the 8-level fist aura. The latter did not pose any resistance. It directly and successfully entered Lin Dong's body. After which, Lin Dong could also sense the 8-level fist aura entering his dantian and quietly suspending within it. It was completely without any fierce overbearingness. However, Lin Dong could sense that as long as he activated it quietly, this 8-level fist aura would unleash an extremely powerful and lethal blow. This thing was just like an enhancement item. In the future, as long as Lin Dong mixed any attack that he used in the future with a little of it, the might of the attack would suddenly soar. This was the true inheritance of the 8-level sect. Child, you still have more to learn. Once you possess Grandpa Martin's eyesight, you will be able to roam this world as you wish. Little Martin laughed. Its laughter contained a pride that could not be hidden. Lin Dong involuntarily parted his mouth and smiled when he heard this. However, he must admit that little Martin's eyesight was sharp. If it was not because little Martin had opened his mouth earlier, it was likely that Lin Dong would have been expelled from this place and would not be able to obtain this 8-level fist aura. Let's go. It's time to leave. There are still some scores that must be settled. It is not so easy to take advantage of me. Lin Dong smiled while his eyes gradually sunk a little. Although he might not have obtained this 8-level fist aura if it was not because of the interruption of those fellows, the feeling of having been robbed by others was truly displeasing. Since Lin Dong felt displeased in his heart, he naturally needed to settle the source of his displeasure. A cold glint flickered in Lin Dong's eyes. His body moved and gradually faded. Finally, he completely disappeared from this place. This video will end here.